What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me as always. Welcome to day 6 of the Camp Crystal Lake tour, or should I say the Forest Green tour. It's totally Crystal Lake. Today we're going to be taking a look at Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. I guess you could say he's back. Released in 1986, Jason Lives takes place less than a year after the events of Part 5. And after the commercial flop that was A New Beginning, fans demanded a return to form. As a result, we got the return of Jason Voorhees, and one of the most polarizing entries in the entire series. You basically have two camps of people when it comes to Jason Lives. And yes, pun intended. You have this first group of people that really enjoyed the meta, self-aware nature that this movie brought to the franchise. And then you have this second group of people that I guess didn't appreciate the tonal shift compared to the first 5. As Jason Lives is kind of where the series stopped taking itself too seriously. And me personally, I'm definitely a part of that first group. Jason Lives just works for me in so many ways. I love the mix of the scary with the silly, and it was really just a refreshing change of pace that I think the series desperately needed. And this movie does a great job setting the tone right from the opening scene. And this is of course the scene where we get Part 6's Tommy Jarvis, played by Thom Mathews, going to Jason's grave to make sure he's actually dead. And then he sticks Jason a few times with that rod. The lightning comes down and strikes it twice, resurrecting what is now zombie Jason. Kind of feels like a Frankenstein almost, which I love. And then after Jason punches a hole through the guy's chest and does that awesome camera turn. I love that. We then get the zoom in on Jason's eye and we get this James Bond type opening. Voorhees. Jason Voorhees. And I just love the way this movie sets up its tone right away. It lets you know we're going to get a blend of horror and just campiness. And after a quick scene where we get to meet Sheriff Garris and Tommy gets himself thrown in jail, we get kills number 2 and 3 in the movie, but more importantly, we get meta joke number 1.
I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
I also love the little joke they threw in when the girl's in the puddle and Jason puts the spear down through her. You see her debit card floating off and it says American Excess. Way to make a social commentary, Part 6. And when we return to Tommy back in the jail, we get to meet a few of the other characters in this movie, including Sheriff Garris's daughter, Megan Garris, aka Part 6's final girl. And in this scene we kind of get a romantic connection between Megan and Tommy, which serves as one of the storylines here for Jason Lives. And after this scene, we actually get a fourth wall break here by Martin, the cemetery caretaker.
Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
You know, Scream gets a lot of credit for being the self-aware horror movie, but I gotta tell you, Jason Lives did it a decade earlier, and nobody talks about it. And next comes the classic paintball scene. Now, love it or hate it, this is absolutely one of the most iconic moments in the entire Friday franchise. Everybody knows what you're talking about when you say paintball scene. This is where we get to have a little campy fun, and Jason learns how strong he really is post-resurrection. Plus, a triple decapitation will never not be cool. And after establishing a few more characters at Camp Forest Green, which is totally Camp Crystal Lake, we get this amazing sequence in the RV. Another great set piece in this movie. But we get the scene in the RV where Jason puts the girl's head up against the wall. Kind of makes her look like Freddy going through Nancy's bedroom wall in A Nightmare on Elm Street. On a side note, could you imagine if Freddy ever fought Jason? There's no way they could fuck that up, right? After killing the two campers in the RV and rocking out to some more Alice Cooper, Fuck yeah. We get another iconic image with Jason standing on top of the crashed RV. Man, he's such a badass. And then, after finding a body out in the woods, a guy named Roy, by the way, was that a jab at Part 5? Coincidence? We have a scene that, obviously, I have to include. It's not a notable kill or anything. That's just good brand placement for my channel. Huh? Huh? See the back of her shirt? Baker? That's me. So at this point we get a chase scene, we get a crotch shot, which I imagine had to be awkward for the actress, and we get Tommy being thrown back in jail, despite proof that he wasn't the killer. And when we return to the camp, we get a few of my absolute favorite sequences of the movie. It really is a testament to how well this movie was shot. Like the counselor Paula when she stands up, that shot of Jason in the window behind her, that is terrifying and shot to perfection.
See you in the morning.
And as Paula's walking, we kind of get Jason like following her through the window. I mean, when this movie wants to, it can definitely be scary. And Jason's encounter with the little girl Nancy is also very tense.
No, let me down to sleep or pretty little myself again. If I should die before I wake up, pretty little myself again. No, let me down to sleep or pretty little myself again.
This is really Jason's first encounter with any child other than Tommy Jarvis. And I love how they just kind of have him hovering over her, almost like he has this curious look to him. And to this day, I'm still not entirely sure if he spared this little girl because even Jason has lines he won't cross, or because he heard the noise outside and got distracted. But I love how they keep that open to interpretation. That's how a good movie's made, you know, makes you ask questions years later. One thing we do know, though, is Jason loves killing adults. So this is exactly what he does as he goes outside and takes care of these 3 cops real fast. Although Sheriff Garris kind of gets his moment with the shotgun. But guns aren't enough for Zombie Jason. And we get one of the best kills in the series where he just like takes Sheriff Garris and just folds him like a lawn chair. Love that kill. And this movie started strong, and it ends the same way. That showdown on the lake between Tommy and Jason is absolutely epic. This showdown is so good, Nirvana made a song about it. I just assume that's what Lake of Fire's about, I don't know. And this entire entry is so good as a whole, you even stick around to watch the credits. Because you get Freddy Krueger's counterpiece, whereas Freddy got Dream Warriors by Dokken, Jason gets Man Behind the Mask by Alice Cooper. So in my opinion, there's just a lot to love about this movie. The first positive, I have to give credit to the change of pace here. It was definitely a breath of fresh air. In my opinion, that's exactly what this series needed. Like, as much as I love Jason, it was, you know, it's kind of the same formula, and it gets old. You need a new element. Like, if you're going to keep Jason in the woods, if you're going to keep kind of the same general outline, you need to add a new element in there to keep it fresh. The meta self-aware nature of this movie really adds something here that I enjoyed. Positive number 2, as I said before, this is probably the funniest movie in the entire franchise. And I mean that it's effortlessly funny. Like some future movies, I'm looking at you, Jason X, go out of their way to just be dumb. And even though sometimes I feel like that's a movie that's so bad it's enjoyable, its comedy does not work how it does here in Jason Lives. Positive number 3 here, I'll kind of bundle this all into one. This definitely has the best soundtrack of any movie in the series, and it's one of the best looking movies in the series. Like, you can tell they really use some of their budget here for good lighting, good cinematography, and some good set pieces. Crystal Lake has never looked better, and some of the imagery in this movie is just masterful. Just like in the final chapter, you get great pacing here. This is another one of the rare entries into the series that there's not really a dull moment in the movie. This might be, for my money, the most well-paced movie in the franchise, maybe even over the final chapter. So for being such a stickler for pacing, I have to give this movie major props. I also love our three main characters in this movie. You get Tom Matthews here playing Tommy Jarvis, and I always have such a hard time deciding between Corey Feldman and Tom Matthews for my favorite Tommy of the series. Now, we don't talk about Part 5 Tommy. I love his portrayal here of the character, and it actually gives you somebody to root for other than just the last counselor alive. Tommy Jarvis is somebody that you can actually call your protagonist and get behind from the beginning of the movie. I love C.J. Graham's portrayal here as Jason. He kind of picks up where Richard Brooker and Ted White left off. And in a way, he almost gives his own personality to the character that really plays into the comedy aspect. Like, I love the scene where he throws the guy into the tree and he's still holding his arm, the way he just kind of like looks at his arm, like realizing his own strength. He's like, damn, I'm strong. But he also plays in great to the horror aspects. Like, one of the most chilling moments, I would say, in the series is when he's chopping up the cemetery caretaker and the guy's peeking at him through the woods, and Jason's just kind of like... That is genuinely one of the most chilling images of any movie of the franchise, in my opinion. And then I love the final girl, Megan Garris. She has an attitude about her, and she's got a personality. Like, where a lot of these Friday the 13th movies falter is the final girl is just kind of there. You only root for her because she's the last one alive. My next positive is the creativity of the kills here. This was another movie that was kind of stifled by the MPAA. They had to censor a lot of their stuff. But they really still had some awesome kills here compared to parts 5 and 7. It's not as evident in this movie that the MPAA censored them, as they really found great workarounds. So I love the creativity of the kills. And then the last little compliment I have to give this movie, this is the only entry in 12 films that actually have children at the campground. Like, it makes sense, right? You're at a camp, 4 kids, you should probably have kids there. And similar to the final chapter, I only have 3 negatives about this movie. Number 1 is going to be a complete 180 of A New Beginning. Whereas that movie was over the top with the nudity and it felt too graphic at times, this is the only movie in the series with no nudity. Now, that's not a huge negative for me, but I mean, you know, it is a slasher film. You at least have to throw one scene in there. Number 2, a lot of the characters in this movie you don't really get a chance to get to know. They don't necessarily establish a lot of the background characters, so there's not much of an impact really when they get killed. I would have liked to spend a little more time with them. And my third and final negative is kind of Tommy Jarvis's motive at the beginning of this movie. At this point, Jason had been dead for 6 years. I guess I just don't understand why after 6 years he decided now's the time he has to go make sure he's dead. Like, it still works for me, but really sitting down and thinking about it, I didn't exactly understand Tommy's motives. Yeah, so overall, I absolutely love Jason Lives. There's no way that this isn't in my top 3 Friday the 13th films. Out of any movie in the series, this just blends horror and comedy so well. And it's the point where they started having fun with the series. Stop taking itself too seriously. Like, you don't have to be Halloween. But let me know what you guys thought. Anybody out there not a fan of this film, not like the direction they took with it? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to give me a like and subscribe right over here so you don't miss any future content that I'll be releasing. And if you like my Friday the 13th review series, make sure to check out a few more right on this side here. Until next time, we'll see you guys for Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood.